You know what else I was looking forward to watching, Tavi? It's the Acolyte. I actually was.
Really?
I was looking forward to this show.
Lee Jung-jae's in it.
I really wanted this show to be good. I mean, for context,
You're a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, I'm a Star Wars fan, but I'm not like the biggest Star Wars fan, you know? Like, but I am also a fan of martial arts cinema. So like the idea of combining martial arts and Star Wars, you know, it seems like a good idea on paper.
It does seem like a good idea on paper.
Because it's inspired by, you know, Akira Kurosawa films and whatnot.
Yeah.
To be fair, the fight scenes are quite good.
Yeah, I've heard positive things that like the fight scenes are actually like generally pretty good.
When they happen, they're pretty good. You know, they're clearly inspired by older martial arts films, or at least inspired by The Matrix, which was inspired by older martial arts films. Like it's pretty clear from like the music choices and the framing and even like, the settings of the fights, I guess. Like the first fight scene takes place in some kind of space tea house, so it's very kind of like old school martial arts cinema. But the narrative, it feels like you're watching a Twilight movie time at time.
It's the skin of a killer.
It's written with the same level of skill and the same target audience in mind as
That's
one of
such a
those
shame.
movies.
Because like, look, honestly, you talking about it, having that martial arts and tea house makes it, to me, it sounds, oh, you know, it might not actually be that bad. And then it's just like, oh yeah, it's just kind of pretty tripe when it comes to its writing.
Yeah. And like, this isn't really anything new for Star Wars. Like I would argue that the prequels also have quite bad writing at times.
No, it's because I'm so in love with you. So in love with you. So in love with you.
And quite good fight scenes at times. But I think the Acolyte is like on another level of bad writing. It's just like, I don't know if it's just the YA feeling of it. Because it's quite... This show is quite horny, Tavi, I would say. Like,
I've seen like the first.
The Manny Jacinto.
Yeah, Manny Jacinto. Yeah.
He's pretty good in this show, I would say. He's one of the highlights of this show, to be fair. But it's just the way that his character and specifically some of his dialogue is written. It's really cringe.
Just from seeing Leslie Headland talk about it here and there, it seems like I don't know if you really understand what your target audience.
Yeah, and
wants.
that's the thing. Like it feels like it doesn't know what it's trying to be. Like I said, the fight scenes, you know, they have a pretty old school flavor. So with those, you seem to be targeting like an older audience, right? Fans of like that kind of martial arts cinema.
Well, it's basically like older male nerds. Right. Yeah.
But then you have this running plot where it's got a completely different target audience in mind. So you're just not pleasing anyone.
So it feels very like focus group tested. So it's like, so we try to get this audience in, but then we try to squeeze in this, you know. Yeah,
it just ends up being a really just messy kind of show. And like, it's a shame because I noticed that Kogunaga directed a lot of these episodes.
Yeah.
And
he did After Yang.
Yeah, that's it, After Yang.
Which I enjoyed. Yeah, I think that's a good movie. And the guy does... Yeah, his shots and his cinematography is quite good. Well, even though he's not the DOP, but he's got a good vision.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if his vision is like a action vision.
Well, I don't think the vision is the problem with this show. It's definitely the writing, the structure of the show. Sometimes episodes will just end with like nothing.
Not even like a cliffhanger or anything.
Not even a cliffhanger. It's just like,
Yeah, you'll binge it anyway, so just watch. Yeah. So we're not going to do anything. Yeah.
The character design looks like shit. Everybody looks like an extra from the Legendary Adventures of Hercules. Like, with the exception of the main bad guy, whose design I actually quite like. Carrie-Anne Moss and Daphne Keane are really good, but they're not given enough to do. You know, there's some good ideas in there, but they're not given enough time to fully be realized. Lee Jung-jae is fine, but his character is just really inconsistent. Like, he plays this Jedi master named Sol. Even though he's from Busan. So one of his main skills is that he seems to be able to read people's minds.
Oh yeah.
But sometimes he just can't. He just doesn't. Like there's a bit later on in the show where he's captured one of the antagonists and he's got her like handcuffed to this bed, right? And she like secretly picks the lock and then manages to taser him without him sensing anything is amiss. And then she runs away, right? And he's like, kind of like panting behind her trying to catch her. Use the force, bro. You've got the force. Did you forget?
To give the writers the benefit of the doubt, because there's so many moving parts in terms of plot, in terms of lore, in terms of characters, you kind of just get mixed up with all this shit that is going on. And unless you take the time to really like delve into how each thing works,
To just kind of storyboard it a little bit.
yeah.
I don't know.
But the thing is, like, and the sad matter of fact is Hollywood doesn't really care about writers that much, because they're banking that most people are going to watch these shows because it is the brand name and you're watching the spectacle. It's like, yeah, who cares? It's going to be a cool fight scene. Oh, I love it. Oh, I love fight scenes. And then it's like, hey, look at the hot guy. Ooh, yeah, love hot guys or whatever, you know? So the writing takes a back seat. But as much as I sometimes give general audiences like a little bit of shit, audiences are mostly not dumb, you know? They're going to pick up on things. And if you keep making bad stuff, people are going to start to like catch on to, I guess, laziness. It's like, hey, you know. You are making Star Wars one of the most scrutinized franchises of all time. So people are going to be there with like a fine-tooth comb to look for like shit that's wrong with your series.
I think there is a level of like the marketing team kind of playing into that hatred as well a little bit. I suspect.
Yeah.
I mean, the way this show was marketed.
I've seen a lot of people on YouTube talk about it. Yeah.
By the time this comes out, like this is just going to be another drop in the pond of negative Acolyte reviews. You know, so like, it reminds me of like I was listening to this podcast of like a marketeer, and he was talking about how like sometimes negative press is good for your brand.
Yeah.
And that's like,
I mean,
it's probably true, but when it comes to like creative products, don't you just want to make something that's, you know, recognized for being a good thing? I don't know.
Yeah, I've kind of grown out of this kind of story.
You mean you've grown out of the YA story?
Yeah, which is, you know, should people be surprised?
I don't know if you've ever been in
yeah, that's true, actually. I think I went straight from like Mr. Men to like Stephen King. Like straight up.
Scaring the little girl!